I literally recently have been telling guys like, hey, if you don't have the fire inside of you, get some credit cards and manufacture debt.
Today we had the pleasure of interviewing millionaire playboy Arlen Moore, owner of personal development software Maxi and leader of Strong People.
To me, the real matrix is just your own mind.
Arlen has used the power of networking to break out of the matrix, and on this podcast he shares exactly how you can too. This episode's a banger. Arlen's a beast. Enjoy.
I give and they get. Then they run around town beating their chests like they forget. Whoa. I can forget for now, but I won't never forget. No. Love how I feel, knowing the universe got my back. Whoa. Love how I feel, knowing that money gon' come right back.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Journey Podcast. If you are here, subscribe, like, drop a comment. This episode brought to you by Evermore. Cousin Jake enjoying his right there.
Every time. I think we've done that before.
Yeah, a few times. Today, we are joined by a very special guest. Thank you for the hospitality, Arlen Moore. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm very excited. I think I might have a sip of this myself.
Yeah.
There we go.
Enjoy, bro.
That's the first time that water's ever hit the air.
Wow.
Yeah, it's taken straight from a well in Louisiana.
Alkaline. We're going to be charged up for this podcast.
That's what we do. We get charged up.
I got something else for us that might charge us up. We got a little magic mind right here. We all had our morning coffees, and they say the best way to take this is with your caffeine. We got some, it's a boost of energy and focus, which is perfect for a podcast. And you got your matcha, your aptogens. You got all this good stuff in here. Only 3 grams of sugar.
Nootropic.
Well,
I like that.
I'm gonna rip it before the pod. Get my mind right.
I like that. Get your mind right, cuz.
Here we go. Let's hear what Arlen thinks of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, it's got ashwagandha too, which is like that kind of calms you a bit, you know?
Yeah. It's supposed to
So
reduce your stress levels. So there we go. So I mean, we got alkaline water. We got a magic mind. I think we're ready to rip a fucking banger pod.
Yeah, pretty much. I want to give my own little flowers to you. Thank you for coming on our podcast. You're an absolute legend. I wrote down a couple words about you before doing this podcast. We don't really dive too deep into the guests, so I don't know too much about you, although I do know you went to Boston University and you grew up in the Cape. No, I'm kidding around. But, and your social security number is, we don't really like to prepare because we like to just have a genuine conversation. I wrote down some things before this podcast about you, and then you can kind of let me know if that's an accurate representation of your brand. Before I even get into those words, I wanted to give my little synopsis of you. Legend, entrepreneur, obviously has made a ton of money. We're sitting fucking pretty at I don't want to give a location, but we're in a nice hotel room right now, and like you've definitely done your thing, and you've been around guys, and have shot content with guys like Iman Gadzhi and Jordan Welch and just all the top online entrepreneurs in the space. So that's our, for anyone wondering who Arlen is, definitely check out some of his content before this. There's a video, funny enough, there's a video called Gentlemen in London with Iman Gadzhi that 2 years ago, full circle moment for the boys, when I first started getting into the entrepreneurial thing, someone sent me that video, and I remember, bro, just watching it for like weeks. Like, oh man, this is how I want to live my fucking life. I even know who you are, but now we get to have a conversation with you.
Wow, I'm so glad you actually brought that up because one of my favorite things to do is make those sort of artistic videos, and specifically in that entrepreneur niche with like Jordan and Iman. That video was with Iman had invited me out to London to shoot some podcasts, and Jordan Welch was there at the time as well.
Yep.
And he had asked me to make like a, kind of a promotional video for the project he was working on. And you're talking the one that was like 2 minutes, right? It's just like quick. Yeah. It's like a little it's almost like a music video, but for like an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And
whoever
I
mixed
had
that thing did a good job. The music
song,
in there, like,
bro. So I mean the whole thing, and I've been wanting to do more content like that, and so I actually view you guys as like really in touch and like really authentic. So the fact that you start the podcast off there is like a signal to me that I need to be doing more of that,
100%.
because that make it like my mom's an artist, painter, abstract art painter. My dad's a photographer, art photographer. And so I'm an artist through and through. And I've always juggled like pursuing these like very artistic style pieces of content like that one. And then content that's like, all right, we have to look at the KPIs and the metrics and like convert someone and the watch time and all that. And so I've struggled to balance that. But every time I hear someone say like a video like that resonated with them, that's something that's like my bread and butter, and I love making videos they're more art than they are like a piece of content even, And so, that one, I could talk about the video for a while, but that song you mentioned, I heard that actually when I was in Bali, like probably 5 months prior. And that was around the time Iman asked me to do that video. And I heard that song and I was like, this is the song we're going to use. And I had to wait 5 months to use it, but I listened to it over and over and I heard like every little nuance. And
there was a lot that went into that video.
There was a lot. And I shot the whole thing on my iPhone too.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. And that's kind of what we were talking about before this podcast about, us and our podcast, is that how easy this has been, and that's how like that's a big part of your purpose, is like when something is really, when something is really easy, it's like, okay, like that's a sign, dummy, like do more, more of that thing, you know? And I think that's why the video was so cool, was just because you didn't care about a hook and the right intro and side quests in the body, and I don't know, just all these things that like take the fun out of it. You did something that you actually love, and I think that's a beautiful segue of what today's podcast is going to be all about. Is last night we were going into this podcast originally with the intention of like asking you business game.
Okay, all right,
because you're a business guy.
I
mean, outside looking in, that's what we see, and we're all about now. We're coming at this podcast from the other angle of how can we make content that's super valuable to our audience, and having you on, we figured, maybe we go into some of your market predictions and we were going that lane, but then you texted me last night and said you want to get deep.
Yeah,
we get fucking deep, bro. So that's what we do. So today's podcast is going to be more of a conversation just about topics, bro, and life and dating and the Matrix and all these things. I wrote down the only notes I took about before this podcast were three different things. One of them was, do you remember the line in the video that you shot? That's the second video in your link tree that the guy said. It was like the opening line.
The second video and first. Okay, so first thing,
Hubi.
Like, it's a Hubi. And I have to say Hubi because Hubi's it's a company I'm an advisor for, and my best friends run the company, and Linktree's like, we don't like Linktree.
Okay,
so,
screw it. It's Hubi, yeah. My bad for the disrespect, Jordan.
Yeah. You know Jordan?
No, I don't. I know of him.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Right. The video, which one is it?
I think it was like.
Oh no. Okay, no. It's the one. It's the one in Italy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the first line that?
The first line is it's so the story behind that is that was in 2021, and I had some internet friends that I was just going back and forth with on Instagram, just like they're fellow entrepreneur, traveling Instagram type dudes, travel hoes. And one of my buddies that I never met in person just posted on a story this dope villa in Sicily. Yeah. And this was like also mid-pandemic, and people were still afraid of shit. And Sicily, for those that don't really know, is like where the pandemic like really like erupted hard and like hurt people. And we had been, we hadn't been traveling a lot, everyone was obviously stuck in their homes. And my friend posted this villa in Sicily and was like, who wants to fucking go? And I was like, I'm in. Yeah. I messaged him. I was like, I'm in. And he goes, come, you won't. And the next message I sent him was just a screenshot of a flight confirmation to Sicily. Yeah. And then, it was just like 7 dudes just ripping Sicily. And you're Italian, of course, yeah? And are you?
Half, yeah.
Half, okay, yeah. And so, I mean, that was my first time in Italy. And I was just blown away. And we went to this restaurant and the chef came out and he saw the 7 of us like American idiots, like just, having a great time. We were all probably one of the guys in that video is like one of the funniest guys I've ever met, Danny. And he was telling the chef to like slap him and stuff, like slap him in the face.
Right.
And we were just in a great mood. And then the chef, kind of like brings us all and he's like, we've been living in this fucking pandemic. He's like, I don't care about anything anymore. We're like, okay.
Right.
He's like, I want to live again.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to live again. And we're like, yes.
That's the line.
And
that's the line.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, he goes, it wasn't I want to live again. It was I want to live back again. That's how he said it.
Right.
And that was I caught that on film, like just like filming like this.
Right.
And it was just so good.
Right.
That video was like that's actually next to the Iman one. That's my favorite video that I've ever made.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And the theme there, right? The theme there is like let's just say it's I want to live again, right? Like that hit me so deeply, because it was like, bro, what I'm taking away from you is Bruce Wayne, The Matrix, and I want to live again, right? Like spawns this internet guy that is just going to go out into the world, say fuck everyone, fuck everything, fuck society. I mean, you grew up in the Northeast, like, bro, if I look at you right now, I mean, I think you could speak French. I mean, it looks like you completely changed who you kind of were. I guess, question one would be like, where was your motivation for living such a fucking cool life?
Yeah. I think it has to stem from my mom and dad, like, as I mentioned, my mom's a painter and my dad's a photographer, but they're both adventurers at the core, my mom didn't get married to my dad till she was like 35 and my dad was 45. And so they were late bloomers for sure because they were just traveling. Like they were like living back again for decades. Right. My dad, he traveled to not Tulum. Well, Tulum, yeah, but before it was Tulum,
Okay.
like when it was just like tribes, like in the I want to say the 80s. Like he was traveling all throughout Mexico in the woods, just backpack and a camera, and he would meet like the local villagers there and just take their photos. And he would go to the same village every year. He would go back to Mexico, and he had this like family that he was friends with that just lived in like literally like a mud house. And actually last year him and my mom went back to that village, and he was showing me pictures, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to go say hi to my friends. And I was like, how are you going to find them? I was like, you have their phone number? He's like, they don't have phones. Right. I was like, so how are you going to find them? And he's like, I'm just going to take the pictures and I'm going to go to the village and say, where's Juan, Wow. And that's actually his name. Like, the guy's name. Is that
right? You asshole.
And so, sure enough, my mom was heated because at this point, my mom's less of an adventurer and more cautious about things. Yeah. And my dad's 72 now. Wow. So he went down and he just went into the village with the pictures. He's like, where are these people? Yeah. And he found them. And this is after 20 years. He just found this same family. Yeah. And so
just a fucking daredevil guy, just an adventurer.
Yeah, just an adventurer. And my mom was the same way. And so I think that, and mixed in with there were definitely some early influences that I saw on social media that were probably like 25, 26 when I was 18. And I was just from a small town on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, where most people have summer houses on Cape Cod. I grew up there, right. And that's kind of weird, because it's like there's nothing to do in the winter. Yeah. And that's why there's a huge heroin problem. But like that aside, I was watching you guys might remember like Create Tyler. No? You ever never heard of him? Okay. Create Tyler was one. Adam Horwitz. Sam Colder.
Yeah, Sam Colder.
Okay. Yeah. So the guys kind of like that were like the first like travel influencers, just going everywhere and doing all this stuff. And I knew I wanted to just travel a ton.
Right.
And that was a big motivator for me. But really, one of the reasons I wanted to do it, to get like super real, is, my parents are pretty old, and I have wanted to live the best life I possibly could and film it all, in part so that they can see me, have a good life. And not only that, but I want to experience, as much as possible, so that I don't have that urge when I'm older, right? Because if I do, because they say, when you have a family, you got to like settle down, right? And you can't travel as much. Well, I want to travel as much as humanly possible and experience everything, so that I have my girl right here. Like, I want to have a family young.
Yeah.
Because I really want my parents to see and experience everything.
Yeah.
And I want them to be grandparents. Like, I want them to, I want them to see me traveling the world, and I want them to be grandparents too. But those things don't really line up together. So I have to do, as much as I can.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. I mean, like, just yesterday, one of our best friends literally just lost his dad.
Yeah.
74,
Like our best friend.
Like, it's
yeah.
like, it's us two and him. Like, that's
Yeah.
like our core. And 74 years old. He
Wow.
walked in and his dad is laying on the floor.
Yeah, bro.
And, this was like the first time he ever really went through something like that. I lost my mom when I was a kid. I was 12. So I didn't get to experience, to experience having a mother watch me grow up and stuff like that, and play college basketball, you name it. So like, for you to like, I think a lot of people don't think about that. They think, oh, I have more time. I'll have a family when I'm ready, stuff like that. And it's like, hey, well, like, I think put your priorities like where they are. And it's like, if you want your parents to have grandchildren and see that, like, that should be higher on the priority list. So like, it seems like you have that. It was just a perspective thing for us yesterday. It was just, crazy to like, we do all these things. We're doing podcasts, you're doing business, we're doing this, and we don't think about that shit. Like, that's a reality that like, it's very real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that family is so important, It's
and you can lose track of it when we're so like, bro, we're in the prime of our life, you know what I mean? We have so many other things to worry about, but it's scary.
It can be such a strong motivation, but it's like, bro, I think us men, like, at least for me, that could be such a good, clean motivation, because you're trying to make it out of love. Like, you're trying to go out into the world and become successful so you can, like, give back to your friends and family, like the people that brought you up, the people you care about the most, versus, like, I've came up off of, like, straight doubt, and, like, watch what I'm going to do. And I'm coming up. It's very powerful, but at the same time, it's like, bro, I'm killing myself almost, So I admire that, I admire that. And I think that's why you've, at 27 years old, bro, you've gotten so far, just because you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, obviously you grew up Massachusetts, Cape Cod's blue collar. We're from the Northeast, winter's cold, tough, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's tough. Are you a Patriots fan? Did you grow up a Patriots fan?
Yeah, I grew up a Patriots
You know what I'm saying? Like, that aura, right?
Yeah.
And, but you obviously went against the grain of what everyone does around you. We did the same thing. We spoke off camera. Talked about when you go home for the holidays, stuff like that. All your friends that you grew up with kind of doing the same shit. They may feel inspired, but they don't take action on it. What for you maybe is like the key indicator to separate yourself and escape the matrix and do something with your life? Like, what's like one skill set that, I don't know, maybe you carry and like the other guys that are in that 1% carry, that separates from the majority of people we grew up with, and especially in the Northeast, where that's not even a thing to think about when you're a kid. Yeah.
America, yeah.
This is a really great question. I love this. So, and it's actually something I've been analyzing a lot, because, I have a couple products that are meant to like help people, and I have a course, and I have guys pay and join the course, and then some guys will succeed. They'll take what they learned, and a couple months later, they're doing a lot better than they were before. Some guys buy the course, go through the program. It doesn't have to be mine. This is with anybody.
Right.
They buy the e-com course or the investing course or whatever it is, workout program, and then they just don't do anything.
Yeah.
Why? Right? And I've been thinking about that a lot. And same with when I go home for the holidays and I see some of my friends that I grew up with that are smarter than me, funnier than me, maybe even more good looking than me, right? Okay, maybe not.
Maybe.
You threw a maybe in there.
He's funny, bro. Take your shirt off one time on us, huh? Let me know what you've been doing. That's funny, bro.
No, but
Yeah.
but seriously, like I actually genuinely have several friends, even in some that are in New York right now, working 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. like, crazy hours investment banking or something, like getting the soul just sucked out of them.
Yeah.
And these guys are literally like way smarter than me, way funnier, and like more handsome than me, and I'm like, what are you doing? Right. And why is it that guys choose that life path over maybe something more aligned with their like core purpose that I can just so clearly see is in them?
Yeah.
And I really think the reason is they lack urgency. They lack some form of either, it's one of two things. One is out of your control. One is completely in your control. The first is honestly like some sort of natured in like psychological trauma, like what I'm talking about. Like I have older parents, time's ticking. Like I have to make this happen. Whereas some people, they don't have that, the younger parents, everything's good, like financially, maybe their grandparents were even wealthy and their parents are lawyer, doctor. And, obviously a lot of kids who grew up like cushy and like regular, nice family life, they have their own problems, but it's not as urgent, so to pursue their life's purpose is not like, it's like, hey, yeah, like make some money, work on Wall Street a little bit, and then you can do your whatever thing later, just take a safe, regular path and just chill. And then, you've got the even more psychologically damaged people who are actually the most successful people that we know. I mean, you mentioned Iman, and everyone knows what he went through as a kid. My most successful friends are like alcoholic, abusive dad, absent mom, like that's that kind of trauma, like shapes people different, way different. And that's hard to manufacture, but it is possible. I think one of the ways, if someone's, watching this and is like, I don't have like fire inside me, you can manufacture it. You can do it, but it's risky, and that's the point, and I literally recently have been telling guys like, hey, if you don't have the fire inside of you, like get some credit cards and manufacture debt. Literally, like get, $100,000 in credit, business credit, and whatever you want to do, podcasts, Shopify store, whatever, put all the money on the card to invest in that, like the lighting setup, whatever you need to do, and just put yourself in debt. And if you do that, guess what? Now you have to perform, or else your score's fucked and your life, there's genuine consequences to you not performing, right? And some people would say like, well, if I do that, that's risky, and like, what if I can't pay the bills on time? It's like, bro, God forbid you have a little bit of pressure on yourself to perform. Like, we're athletes here too, right? Like, when do you perform best? When you're up 7, we got 3 different sports here, but when you're up, 7 points, or when basketball different, whatever, or when you're, when you're down 1, if you're down 1 or down 10, like you have to play better. Right?
This guy's a genius.
And that's what
no
separates.
urgency.
That's what separates
problem.
people, though. You know what I'm saying? But that's where that's where you can find out like what you're really made of is when you are under pressure. Because there are the guys that they may be in the game when they're down 3 points with 30 seconds left, and they fold. And then that's when like and those are the people that do it consistently, right? Every time like pressure happens or a situation gets tough, they fold or they run away from it. And those are the people that tend to lean in that other direction, like you were saying.
And then people just end up staying in that complacent state, right? Because there is no type of urgency, like you just said. We're taught by our teachers and our parents and just everyone around you that, like, Yeah, you know, you go get the secure thing. I think that's the cancer, right? The secure thing is the cancer because I've just personally seen it with like my close boys, bro. I know what it's like to have close homies that are like full of life, bro, full of passion, good looking, charismatic, like just killers, you know. And then you see them when you go home for Christmas, you know, or like whenever like you go back home and you run into them, bro, and they're just like, I mean, not to be a dick, but like they're bald and they're like, bro, it just looks. You go up to them and you're like, yo, how's life, you know? And they're just like, oh man, like, you know, just got this job and this girl, you know, gonna get a mortgage soon. Yeah. You know, and like, and you can't even like, I don't even want to spend time around a person like that, bro. And it kills me because I'm like, bro, I'm looking at my boy. It's almost like in Gears of War. This is so stupid, but like, it's almost like in Gears of War when, you ever play Gears of War?
No.
Okay. Well, there's a character named Dom, and like, you ever play Gears?
No, I was a PlayStation guy.
Fuck,
on your own,
you
cuz.
guys. All right. There's a character. All right, here. There's a character named Dom who spent the first Gears of War game and a lot of the second game trying to find his wife because she was captured by like these like monsters, whatever. And then he ends up finally finding her in hopes of her being the same person. And when he finds her, the monsters essentially tortured the life out of her. Like she was just completely gone, you know? And the pain in him, I know it's stupid, but like that's kind of how I feel about some of my friends, bro. It's like I look at people that I haven't seen in 10 years and I just want to pick it up where we left off. And I realize, bro, this person's not the same. Yeah. And I'm not saying that it's bad that they changed. It's good that you changed if you grow. You know, but if you stay this, if you, bro, a lot of people don't even stay the same. Like that's the problem with society now is like, you would think baseline is like staying the same, but baseline is usually a downtrend, bro. And that's where people's lives go. You know, it just goes down and down and down. And that's like the misconception about safety and security. And it's so sad because the people that push safety and security upon us are the people that love us the most, our parents, right?
But that's all they know.
Yeah.
So it's like, can you blame them? Because like everyone only knows what they've been taught before them. Yeah. So, and that's what I wanted to ask you. Like you said, the people that have been through traumatic shit in their life, they have something, right? Or if you don't, you create that fire. What was it for you?
The fire for me?
You said it was your parents were older. But
yeah, my parents.
What is that the determining thing where it was like?
Yeah, I would say that. You know, I mean, there's that's probably like the biggest thing.
That's the main one,
yeah, that's the biggest driver.
I mean that's great, bro, and that's why like it's that's what's weird, bro, about life is I think everyone does kind of have a driver if they really think about it, because life smacks everyone in the face, bro. And it's even like why we talk about heartbreak a lot and why like so much men love it. It's because like that's usually the first thing for someone where their entire reality gets shape-shifted. They experience this pain that like I didn't even know this could exist, bro. I remember when I was 17, the first time a girl cheated on me. Bro, I remember like reading I was with the girl, you know, we were actually like making out, and then my friend called me. And I pick up the phone, and he's like, yo, did you hear what your girl did last night? I go in the room, bro, and she's there. She has no idea. And I'm like, what'd you do last night? I'll never forget, bro, the ride. Like, so much happened in between, but, bro, the ride home was just the only thing that I could think to do that would calm me down, because I was freaking out, bro. I broke my windshield. I was punching my windshield, bro. I was screaming at the top of my lungs, bro. Like, I'm going to have a heart attack, you know? I didn't even know you could be in that much pain. And the only thing I could think to do was to call her. Yeah. Because it was the only thing that would make me feel better. Yeah. And you know, that's just that's why like we're kind of advocates for heartbreak and,
bro, yeah.
You know, because it's just good.
Dude, I tweeted or whatever you call it nowadays.
X'd.
Once. Yeah. X'd. X'd. Yeah. I said, I think the secret to life is getting your heart broken. And it's the same principle. It's like you put yourself in debt, but most people can't, like, unless you're Taylor Swift, you can't, like, engineer heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak, right?
I can.
You can? Okay. Okay, Taylor Swift.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, no, I'm actually curious. I know you guys are interviewing me here, but,
Yeah.
like, I'm curious for you guys, what is the debt or, like, the motivator for you guys? Is it heartbreak? Is it, what do you think it is?
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, mine was my mom. You know what I'm saying? She passed away when I was 12. So that was like what I want to do. Basketball was her favorite sport to watch me play. So that was my thing. Like, I'm going to take basketball as far as I could go. And I took it, you know, as literally as far as physically I could play basketball, like almost got to the, you know what I mean? And then I just took, like what we said, why athletes are so successful and can translate it. All the lessons I learned in that with having my mom as my motivator, I just applied to this now. You know what I'm saying? So all the skills and little things. So yeah, I would say that was my main thing easily. I mean, that's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think depending on the day, bro, if you ask me that question, I could have a different answer for every single day because I have fucking sheets of reasons why I do what I do. You know, I guess right now, you know, what I want to say, because I'm a little bit more of an entrepreneurial spirit, and I think about what fuels me entrepreneurially is, bro, my mom was the poorest person in a rich town, and like outside looking in, that's probably not a problem that seems like it's that bad to everyone else, and it's not that bad if that's not your mom, and you get to see how that created such a insane scarcity mindset in her, and how that passed on to me. And me being self-aware is like, bro, it's not corny for me to say that I have an extreme scarcity mindset, you know? So I kind of look back on my entire life and every single thing that I've done, and it's been to prove someone wrong. It's been to not only to belong, but to get put on a pedestal, because I didn't feel worthy of anything the way I grew up, you know? Like I remember my mom, you know, she was living in the city and was engaged to marry this very successful guy, and the guy's family told the guy, you can't be with her, she's a hairdresser. And you know, broke my mom's heart. And I think that, you know, it's kind of funny how, you know, not only does DNA pass down to the child, but so does life experience. And I remember, bro, similar experience to me, bro. I went to a very rich Catholic school, and you know, there was one girl actually that I really liked, and we were friends. And I think, you know, right around the time money mattered at 16 years old, when everyone was pulling up to school in like Range Rovers and I pulled up in like a Honda, she couldn't be friends with me anymore. You know, and I never even got the confirmation about it. You know, I never was even able to why'd you stop talking to me, bro? It was just one day, just like completely ghosted, you know? But now, like looking back, at least that's what I think I came up with. And then it was just a trend my entire life, bro, where it stemmed into so much other things than just money. You know, it was like, bro, I played football. I was like a smaller Italian guy, you know, like, all right, like I have people to prove wrong here. You know, it was just everything in my life. And then moving to Miami, bro, I had a very big disdain for people don't like you based off of the quality of your heart. People like you based off of the size of your pockets. And it was a really weird thing for me, bro, because I was used to be treating, I was also used to be, I got treated well my entire life because I worked so hard to be good looking. I worked so hard to be charismatic. I worked so hard to be kind. And I saw how like majority of society doesn't give a fuck about any of that shit. They just care about, you know, your pockets. So that's a little bit of a motivation for me now, like kind of all those different things, and, you know, the scarcity mindset of just, you know, I don't really want to make it, I'm over like being put on a pedestal. I think I actually value monk mode more now than anything else, and I probably could be happier with just like living in the woods. But I want to make it because of just how shitty people can treat you when you haven't made it, I guess. You know?
You brought that up earlier, like how people treat you differently. How has that been for you?
Yeah.
Of like where, you know, like now that you have done something with your life, how do people view you and how do you take that?
Yeah. it's kind of mixed, because on one hand, when you're at the bottom, your friends relate to you, right? You have a lot of people that do relate to you at the bottom. At the same time, there's people that won't give you the time of day.
Yeah.
Now that I've made a little more money, I'm a bit more successful. I've had some social media views or whatever. It's actually really sad because it's a bit of the opposite. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I still am in touch with some of my day one friends that I've been friends with since high school. But there's a lot of people that that stop reaching out, because you've changed and you've gotten success. And obviously now the people that wouldn't give me the time of day give me the time of day. I can message someone on Instagram. I can message, someone cool and do a podcast, right? Like you guys, right? But sometimes it hurts when some of my friends that I still view as like my day one homies just don't want to. They don't reach out. It's always me reaching out. I don't know if you guys are noticing that too, but like it's always me reaching out. There's maybe like one or two that will still reach out to me occasionally. And I don't know what it is exactly. I don't know if it's the way I'm portraying myself or something or changing. I don't know, but it does hurt. Like when you get success, like if you want to keep those day one friends, you have to be the one that makes it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it has more to do with them than it does you.
Yeah.
It's more the way that they feel about themselves, and then they look at you and it's like, yo, we grew up in the same town. Like I had the same opportunities that he had. I could have done what he did with my life, but I chose not to do this. And even though that we had this, friendship and this connection when we were younger, like you went on to do better things. And I think it's more of like they kind of look at themselves and maybe feel a little bit disdain or something like that, or regret that it's like, yo, I could have took that path because we started in the same spot. So I think that's kind of what it has to do a lot, because people are just going to view you differently now because you decided to do something different. You know what I mean? And like it's sad that it has to be your friends, the dudes that you think like you were going to be, at your wedding party and stuff like that. And you would never think that they would switch up, but that's the sad thing of like that's why they say like it's lonely at the top.
Yeah. You were even talking about your homies before. Like you could tell like you really fuck with them.
Yeah.
Do you how do you like, because I'm curious, right? Because we still have a lot of the same friends, like we have met a lot of people, but I haven't really gotten too close with anyone in like the entrepreneurial space just yet, because we're still living in Long Island and still a little bit more focused on just us right now. I think that's like more of a KPI for us, is just to keep growing our platform, rather than, we do want to network and collaborate, but still want to bring a little bit more to the table when that time comes. What do you think about people in the entrepreneurial space? Like do you like, I don't know, like just general thoughts, I guess. Like how do they compare to your older friends? Do you like them more, better? Yeah.
There's different levels, there's some people who are,
and honestly, like,
there's some friends I've made that are incredible friends, like some of the best friends you could imagine. And they're pursuing their purpose, and because they're pursuing their purpose, they're completely fulfilled in every area, and they want to help you win. Actually, we mentioned Jordan. He was one of. So okay, we could almost pocket this question, because there's a whole breakup story I could kind of unpack that leads into meeting like what I would consider like the first really like aligned.
And we haven't even gotten into that yet. I do want to dive back towards your story and figure out like what kind of happened. Yeah, bro. So if you want to go for it, bro, go for it.
Yeah. And also when you said, there's a whole list of like debts, I have my list as well, but I would say the number one motivator is that I always come back to is like the parents. But in 2018, I and I want to be respectful to everyone on the platform, including my girlfriend. So I don't want to get into too many details. But
Dude,
but
my girl hates when I post like relationship shit. She's like, "Who the fuck are you talking about?" I go, "No one, baby. I read it in a book." Yeah,
it's just for the video.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no.
But anyway, back to you.
Yeah, I met this chick in Australia. She was a bit older than me, and I think, I mean, like, I have to look at the relationship as screwed up as it was, as, you know, my fault, right? And this girl's a couple of years older than me. I met her when I was in Australia. I was in my second to last semester of college in a study abroad. Met this girl in Australia, and you know, she was older than me. Like, I was doing social media stuff on YouTube heavily at the time. She started being in my videos. I was getting tons of validation. Everyone knew who this girl was. Obviously, she was attractive, and I was like getting more views than I ever was. And then pretty quickly, like, the relationship started to get toxic, like real toxic. And one day I got home from from the gym, and we got in some huge argument. This was like a month or two into dating, and I don't even know what the argument was about. It was just like a major argument. I thought the relationship was over. I started packing my bags. At the time, you know, I was actually overstaying my abroad experience, like to hang out with this chick that I just met. And I was like, all right, well, so that was fun, you know. That was a good relationship. I was really sad, but we got in this fight, and I started packing my bags, and it was late, so I went to, you know, we were staying in the same place, but I went to bed. She slept in a different room, and the next day was my birthday, actually, and
Damn.
And yeah, so I was like, wow, break up on my birthday. That's cool, but whatever. Woke up the next day, and she's sitting in the living room with birthday cupcakes and birthday balloons. It says, "Happy birthday. I'm sorry." And I was like, that's weird. Like, I thought we just broke up. What is this, you know? And so I was like, all right, well, okay, I guess I don't have to get on this flight then. And I stayed. And I stayed another few weeks, but that was the start of the cycle, the toxic cycle. And then every 2-3 days, it was just another fight about I don't know what.
Yeah.
And it was fueled by what? Jealousy, insecurity on her side and on mine, you know? And it was hell, you know? But of course, I had already built up this perception on social media that I have this perfect relationship. So I had to keep that up. And I was still posting this stuff, and my ego on social media was so high, but in my soul, I was just empty. And it was not only was it empty, it was just getting beat down. And I ended up flying back, and now we had a long distance relationship because I only had one more semester, and I was thinking, you know, after we graduate, you know, we're going to travel together and it's going to be great. And I thought that being distant, you know, maybe the fights would go down a little bit, but they got worse. And pretty soon it was like if I was even in an apartment that I lived in and my friend had his girlfriend over, she would get really upset because there was another girl in the room. Yeah. And, you know, it was just...
I know that game.
Yeah. It was just day after day of jealousy, insecure fighting. And then, to fast forward through some bullshit, she said, you know, let's go to Coachella. And I was really excited. Never been to Coachella before. But 2 days before, she said she wanted to just go on a girls' trip. And this is prior to Andrew Tate.
Starts packing those really sexy bikinis.
This is prior to Andrew Tate, right? And I didn't know what the red pill was, and I never heard. I didn't see any of the signs. I'll just say that. Okay. And she went on her girls' trip in some villa that, of course, her and all her friends split, I guess, right? And I remember the night that she cheated on me. I knew it before it happened. You know, it was now like 8 months into dating, and I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt my chest just like getting stabbed, you know?
Yeah.
And I just knew something bad was happening. And then the next day I woke up, I couldn't get a hold of her. And I spent the whole day trying to figure out what was happening. And I got a photo message in my Instagram from someone that followed me of a picture of her with some other guy at some party. And then I knew, and I had the picture, and I messaged her again, and I said, hey, yeah, I got this picture. Yeah. Now's a really good time to be honest with me. And she said, I met Cameron. And I was like, who the fuck is Cameron? And
it's odd.
Yeah, and she's like, Cameron Dallas. You guys know who Cameron Dallas is? No.
Is he an influencer?
He was you remember Vine?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was like a big Viner.
Okay.
And now he has 25 million followers, like, mega mansion, makes a ton of money, whatever, GQ model. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, right? And it hurt like hell. But the next day, she deletes all our photos that we'd ever posted together on social media, just wiped the grid clean, and posts one new photo of her and this guy.
What? On day one?
On day one.
Oh,
and
my
God.
God.
It was a Getty Images paparazzi photo on Rodeo Drive.
How do you compete?
And that was just all that validation, all that validation that I had from, posting, new hot girlfriend on social media, just out the window. And I was a fucking loser again. And not only a loser, just like the biggest loser you could imagine, fucking cock, like the worst kind. And I was and this is why I love your guys' stuff, because I was like, that moment was like worse than depression. It was just like total apathy. Yeah. Like it was just, I felt like everything and nothing, like heart ripped out and just couldn't even move. Like that feeling like I can't even leave my bed. I'm so hurt.
Yeah, bro.
And you know what the worst part about the whole thing was?
What?
I got back with her. I was so down bad. I got back with the chick. I got back with the chick. Like, how dumb do you have to be? That's how hurt I was and how insecure I was back then. And I was with her for like 2 months. It was even more hell because now when we'd argue, she had a little bit of ammo in her back pocket that she could bring up.
What, like, what would she say? Like, you're not.
I don't even want to tell you what she would say, but you can imagine the kind of stuff that she could say.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still in love with him.
And the stuff you could say too now, because now you know about this other guy, and like.
What was I gonna say? Like,
you fucked Cameron Dallas.
But like that doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt her. Like
right,
that
it just hurts you more when you say it,
right? And so, finally, I get out of the relationship, and I was like back from square one. And at this time too, this is why I talk about debt, right? Like actual, like, financial debt too, because I had basically run out of money, and I hadn't worked on myself in like 7-8 months because I was just so focused on like maintaining this shitty relationship. And I had maybe 10 grand left in my bank account, and there was an apartment that I had some friends that I grew up with that were like doing some entrepreneurial stuff that were living there, and they were paying like $6 grand a month on rent, which I couldn't afford. But the cheapest apartment was a studio, and it was like $4,000 a month.
Still expensive.
And still very expensive. Yeah, for a studio, 700 square feet in Boston. And I somehow got accepted, and I got in, and I was like, all right, well, $4 grand on rent, $4 grand on like transportation, food, all that, right? And I basically got like 1 month of money to live on. And obviously I could have picked a cheaper place, but I knew that if I forced myself that I could get back to where I once was. Mm-hmm. And that was the best decision that I made at that point. And shortly after that, I was connected with Jordan, who's the founder of a company called Hubi, Jordan and Casson, and Jordan's girlfriend Bianca, and now mother to his son. And these were the first friends that I ever had that, you know, when I started YouTube, I had all my friends in the videos, as I was telling you guys, but and they supported it in a way, but they never really fully supported it.
But
right?
they probably didn't take it serious.
Yeah, that was just like a fun little kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Jordan and Casson, they were the first friends I had that when I posted something like a new YouTube video, they would share it on their story. They would tell their friends about it, you know? And I was like, holy shit, I never had anyone do that for me.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what I think like the most aligned friend is, at least in this space, is someone who like when you win, not only do they text you, hey, congratulations, but they'll tell everyone they know about it.
Right.
You know, and they'll like really try to support you.
Yeah.
And so so to answer that original question about like what friends are like when you're kind of in this space, that's what I would consider to be like the most aligned.
Yeah.
There's other types of friends too. There's some that are only in it for themselves completely, and they'll use you as a fucking pawn. Like they'll play you like a flute. Like they'll give you everything you want just so that they can basically come in and steal your audience.
Yeah.
And it's chess to them, you know. This game is just chess, and it is as competitive as fucking war for some people.
But how do you not come across bad? Because it's like all right, if like let's say like you do a collab video with a guy like Iman, like you essentially using him for his name.
You're using each other,
you know,
absolutely,
right? But like, how do you not come across? But if you're not really as big as him, like he's providing you more value than you are to him. Like, how do you do it in a way that seems genuine?
How do you
just be genuine?
Like when you're doing a podcast with someone that has bigger audience than you, or what?
Well, I mean, my question is just like we're trying to break into higher level groups, and it's just weird, right? Because we don't really have too much value we can provide them. So it's like this weird unsaid thing, I think, when we meet someone that is in a better position than us, that there could be this thought that we're just there to advance our status. So I would say, what would be your advice to maybe not feel that way or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys are doing everything right. I mean, I mean, you're also crushing it. Like, you know, you guys have like this sauce right now, right? That's obviously what I saw with you guys. And I think, you know, people will recognize that, right? And you obviously have to perform. At the same time, you know, in the podcast space, like, the bigger guys understand that just having a podcast, no matter who it is, they're gonna get some clips out of it, right?
Right.
But you guys are also like, I mean, I can already feel it. Like, this is one of the best podcasts I've done ever.
Nice.
You know,
Appreciate
like
it.
you guys are
Thanks,
really
bro.
good at like drawing stuff out.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself is good. Like, I mean, as a business move, I would probably be like, hey, look, here's the people we've had on. Here's what their clips normally get, and here's what they got with us. You know, like, you know, that could be
fucking
kind of
idea.
cool.
That's a good play, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Um,
Let's dive into like how he made it. You know, right? Or
yeah,
you
yeah.
wanna
I
go
mean,
somewhere else?
I was gonna, when you were talking about the heartbreak and stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
we could talk
Yeah,
more.
go
than
for
that.
it.
I wanted to ask you, like, what is your views on, you know, the way guys like Andrew Tate and Justin Waller and these like alpha male, like red pill guys, like their takes on heartbreak, and like how, and like, because it seemed like you kind of took that same approach where it was like you got to the point where like, all right, you were done, and then you took that energy, right, that negative, and then you turned it into a positive. So like what's your outlook on that like whole space of like, you know, the girls trips and all that idea, with just how like guys like us could get taken advantage of, and then there's two ways to go. Like when you do get fucking hurt, like you could lay in bed all day and not move, or you fucking take that pain and you apply it.
Yeah, I think the red pill guys have a lot wrong. I really feel that. I think, and the reason I feel that is because the girl I'm with right now, she's amazing. You know, we've been together we met 2 years ago. We've been together, you know, officially dating for a little over, I'd say, 1.5 years. And, you know, to have a woman who really is, you know, ride or die, like that's such a corny saying. But when I look back at the last 1.5 years, you know, and she's sitting like right over here. I know the podcast can't see it, but it's like to have a girl that's like really is like you, like I know if I lost everything, she would still be there. That is and of course the red pill guys are going to come in and say, well, you know, lose everything and we'll see if she's still there, right? You know, and you know, I think to a degree, if the guy does lose everything and then he's just stays lost for like too long, then maybe she should leave him. Right. But like, you know, there's a difference between the girl I was dating before and this one right here. Yeah. You know, this one is special. Yeah. And she's already been with me through some hard shit. She's, like I was saying, you know, some people in this business are really cutthroat, and she's helped me stay clear of those people, because the female intuition is like way better than the male intuition. Yeah. And the amount of times I've said, oh, what do you think about, you know, should we do business with this person, or what do you know, even the other night, you know, there's someone that was wanting to hang out with us, and she's like, no, I don't really feel that person. And I'm like, why not? You know, like it's fine, right? It's gonna be fun. And then the more I've been with her, the more I've started to respect, you know, that female instinct. And it's like the red pill guys just miss that. They think girls are just stupid, basically. and it's just not true. Like a man without a good woman by his side is not as strong, you know, despite what Tatel says, like, you got to live with your boys. It's like, okay, yeah, you could do that, but then you're missing, like, you're gonna be hyper over masculine and get yourself in jail. Like if he you know, I think if he had like a wife and kids he was living with, he probably wouldn't have ended up in jail. Yeah. Right. You know?
Yeah. I think you train with your boys.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you go home to your wife and you get that side, because I know I personally feel the exact same way. I'm in a relationship right now that with someone that it's the first healthy relationship I've been in. Mm-hmm. And because of that, it feels uncomfortable, actually.
Yeah.
You know? Because I'm so used to, like, don't you want to argue? Or like, don't you want, like, don't you want to like ask me, like, don't you want to ask to go through my phone? Like, you know, I'm used to that, like, kind of conflict. And to be honest, like, I find it kind of sexy, you know, I find it attractive. And I'm with someone right now where originally when I went into the relationship, I wasn't, just for guys like us, you know, I don't know our long-term situation. I was kind of going into it with this perspective that, like, we're going to have to at some point break up. I'm only 26. We're going to have to at some point break up, whether it's now or if it's 3 or 4 years down the line, we're going to break up. But, you know, I looked at her the other day. I'm like, how am I ever going to break up with you? And she looked at me and was like, what does that mean? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. But, like, how can I break up with you? Like, you're so supportive. You're so motivating to me. Like, you're when I come home fuming about something, like, you have the answer. Like, I can't, you know, but it's just, that's a really beautiful thing that you have that, you know? That's beautiful, bro. Yeah, that's beautiful.
And then to, like, switch gears off of that, but also maybe you agree more with him on this, Tate, the whole Matrix thing. So like, I want to hear your take on the Matrix, right? Because like we said, like, we all come from this blue collar background where we fall into it. Majority of people we grow up with, parents, everything, like, everyone kind of just falls into this societal standard. You've obviously escaped that. That's like part of, like, your brand. You guys talk about this, like, Matrix. You've used what in his content. You know what I'm saying?
Literally.
We've seen you like use pieces of the Matrix, right?
Oh,
so
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what is like
Pretty cool, too.
what is like to break it down in simpler terms? Because there's a lot of people that hear the term the Matrix and they just think it's bullshit. But I mean, I think like someone like you've honestly probably done some more research and like you're more aware of like what's actually going on in society. So like, what's your take on the Matrix and like how does the everyday person like escape that?
Okay, I'm going to what's that movie? Inception. I'm going to Inception even the whole concept of the Matrix, because the social media version of the Matrix is like what you were saying, like the blue collar life and the mortgage and all that, and you got to break out and make your own money, and I still even think that's the Matrix, because to me the real Matrix is just your own mind and people stuck in their thought patterns and identified with their ego and identified with money in the first place. Where true freedom, like outside the Matrix, to me is more of a Eckhart Tollean state of consciousness that's just stillness. Because you can be any of these ultra successful guys with the supercars or whatever, and you could still be trapped in your own mind. There's so many successful guys that are still like struggling mentally, and I know them. I know some of these guys who are really still in dark places. So the Matrix, to me, it's a prison that people build in their own head, and they don't even know that they're in it. That's like the trickiest part about it is they don't realize that they're even in it, and they think they know what it is, and they're like on the nose with it too, because they're like talking about it, but it's not even that.
Yeah,
it's this concept that is basically undefinable, because it's a state of presence and it's a state of consciousness.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, because I don't think a lot of people view it that way. Like a lot of people view it more of like, the society, like what society is brainwashing us to think. And like you said, like a lot of times, sometimes we just brainwash ourselves by just repeating the same thought patterns and not changing it. And, you do the same thing over and over again. That's and expecting a different result. You know what I mean? That's a definition of insanity. And I think that's what a lot of people deal with on the day to day. And they don't even understand it, or they're not even aware that it's happening.
Wow. That's such a great point to Inception, the Matrix, like to Matrix, the Matrix, right? Because it's like,
yeah.
I mean, but like I still get caught in the Matrix, bro. Like, believe it or not, like we're like, I'm a conscious guy first. Like before any of this, before I picked up a camera, before I cared about business, before I went to Miami, I was a self-help Barnes & Noble guy, like that was just what I kind of rocked with, bro. Because like you said before, being trapped in your ego, I was forced to get untrapped by my ego, because my ego was a deeply hurt person. So I didn't untrap my ego because I didn't like. I like feeling good looking. I like the attention. But like once your ego once you start having these thoughts, bro, you're like, oh wait, never mind. I don't want to be aligned with that ego. I want to. Why am I the way that I am? So that sent me on a big journey, and that's honestly where a lot of this podcast is stemmed from. But we just still get so caught in the other side of the Matrix with that, everyone else thinks of, like, you have to get up and go, and so much of your identity has to be in this thing that you do every day. I mean, do you still struggle? Like, are you centered all the time, or do you still get lost in your identity?
I think, yeah, I still get lost.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the Buddha, right? Like,
No?
no.
No? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I think that, you've got Jesus Christ, you've got the Buddha, you've got the
Eckhart Tolle,
prophets.
Eckhart Tolle is
yeah.
like, I look at him like he's enlightened, bro, when
Yeah.
I watch him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wonder what his day to day looks like if you ever get stressed out about anything.
Yeah.
You know, but who knows?
I
But
think we spoke about that one time of like what if it's
Smoke
all
cigarettes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all an act. Like as soon as he gets off stage, like doing one of
Gets
these
his
things,
belt out,
he has
starts
like a
beating his
beer,
wife.
Well,
he's fucking
bro,
smoking. Yeah.
I was thinking like Eckhart Tolle. They'll have to do some like AI like recreations of this, like Eckhart Tolle with like David Goggins or something like
That would
that.
be
You
so
know,
amazing.
like David's like, "Run, pussy," and Eckhart's like, but like, you know,
Yo.
That would be funny.
but yeah. No, I mean,
You still get lost in it.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the thing is like when you're really there's like different levels of alignment. Like I think there's a lot of truth to like the chakra idea, because you can feel aligned in like one part of your body, but then maybe your head is somewhere else, or maybe it feels like you're doing the right thing logically, but then your heart wants to go some. So you kind of have to align like all these different parts of you, you know, and that's you know, I think like ultimate enlightenment is when, because even when I went through that breakup, I was still meditating every day.
Yeah.
You know, like I was still
Nice, good for
doing,
you.
I was reading I was Barnes and Noble guy too. Like I was like, how is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Like how am I'm going to the gym, I'm reading my books, I'm doing what I think is my life purpose on social media, but like, how am I getting this so wrong? You know? And so I think we can get really, because if we could use the word the devil as like, you know, the entity that distracts us from true ultimate alignment and pure consciousness, it sneaks in the most sneaky and cunning ways. And it can sneak in, you know, and tell you, like, I even view, and I'm glad we started the podcast off talking about those videos, because I felt in my core like I need to be making more of those videos. Like that's what I know I need to be doing, because it's people like you will say that to me, and sometimes a follower will say like, Arlen, like that one video that you made there, like that made me a fan for life, you know, something like that. And then what the devil will do is be like, yeah, but you know, you're making good money doing this thing, and it's pretty fun here, and you know, and it just, even if it's subtly distracting you, it's still accomplishing its mission. You know, like that's what I think I'm really focusing on now, is like how to be fully aligned every day, because at a certain level of success, like you have so many options, you know, like you could be doing a podcast, you could be, you know, doing your accounting, like, you know, you could do all these different things that feel successful, but there's still a procrastination in some way, you know? So, so yeah, I think it's like, what I've noticed is at first it's pretty easy to get aligned, because you're like, your life was so bad before that, you know, your mind was just like anxious and panic attacks. And,
Right.
and I went through that phase too, like just the whole negative, like complete depression kind of thinking patterns.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, if I journal these things before bed, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
but then there's levels, right? And now it's like, okay, I'm happy, but I want to make sure I'm ultimately pursuing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you believe in a fully balanced life? Because I thought I got asked this question the other day, like from a younger guy that looks up to me, and in his eyes, like I'm very successful, right? And then he was talking about balance in your life, and obviously you're on another level, whatever, financially, business, entrepreneurial, content, all that stuff. Like, do you believe there is such thing as like a perfectly balanced life, where like if it's like a pie chart, there's 25% for your girl, 25% for business, or do you think it fluctuates? Like, how has that been for you in your life of finding balance?
Finding balance, I think it's important. You know, I think that, and I've seen some friends get really unbalanced, and it's really sad to see, you know, and I've been there too, where this is something that my girl helps me with, is like, I get way too over-focused on business to the point where like I'm at dinner and I'm like closing a deal on my phone, and like my girl's looking at me like, this is our time. I'm like, yeah, but I know, but I'm doing this for us, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to, I truly think you have to be obsessed and in the moment. And Eckhart Tolle, you know, from your and it's funny because we talk about the Matrix being a 9 to 5, but that's really when you should probably be working, is, even as an entrepreneur, you have your hours, whatever they are, 9 to 5. And then I think you have to turn that off. If you just stop work and you just be a human and go do things your girl wants you to do with you, and you obsess over work, but then when you're not working, you obsess over your relationship, you obsess over your friends and family, and you just be present. And yeah, I definitely think that balance is key, and of course the health side too. I'm super into health and I'm obsessed with it. But I think the poison is when you let it like bleed into other areas of your life.
Yeah, it's such a good point. I honestly want to write that down, bro, because I was even thinking about like last night. I don't know what happened in the past month and a half for me, because like my life has never been better on paper, but I've also never felt more chaotic in my life. I feel so spread thin across so many different areas, right? Because I've added things to my life, but I haven't subtracted anything either, right? So I'm this cup right now, and I'm just pouring, and I'm able to get shit done. But bro, it's like by the time I end my day, none of it felt clean. It was all just dirty. It was all just like, I got these things done, but like they were a struggle and they were a grind. And I've noticed, at other times in my life when I was more relying on God and my intuition, bro, and a higher source, things were just much easier, and they left me feeling more fulfilled and more energized. By the time I got a task done, I was ready to go to the next task. Now lately for me, it's been, I'll do a task, and
it's like a sigh of relief.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, thank God, God that's over. And it's just, I've been wondering how to fix that. So it's funny because I was honestly thinking about buying the Tim Ferriss like 4-hour work week. Normally I'm so much on the spiritual side of like, I really like diving into like spiritual books. But now I want to like find more books about like just productivity, because I'm seeing that I'm having a real struggle with it. And I think what you just said, I'm hopefully I remember it, because I want to write it down, of just like, bro, like have your hours, right? And then clock the fuck out.
Yeah. I have a new philosophy that is exactly in alignment with this topic, and it comes from a trip I actually did with my dad last week. I was in Tucson, Arizona, and my dad loves like deserts. So we got this little like $70 per night Airbnb, like basically a trailer, like it wasn't a trailer. It was a little mini house in the middle of cactus and like nothing. And the owner was actually an artist / philosopher, author. And he had 11 acres of just cactus and art installations and abstract art installations around his property. And one morning, he asked us if we wanted to go see his installation, which is 40 minutes in the middle of nowhere, like even more in the middle of nowhere than we already were.
Right.
And it was basically a billboard he painted in the middle of nowhere. And on the way, and we had to take his truck because we're off-roading, like bumpiest road I've ever been on, to go see this art installation in the middle of nowhere. And he was telling us his story. And he's a French artist. His name is Olivia Rodrigo.
Shout out to you.
I want to get him back.
There you go.
Olivier, his name is French. Olivier Chelier Dubois. Like that's the most French artist name ever.
Yeah.
And that's him. And he told us a story about how he was studying art from a young age, and he went to art school and started building his like thesis, and then he got to New York and he was in the art game and playing the gallery game and speaking to collectors and pricing his art and learning marketing and all that. And then he realized one day like he was just doing bullshit. Like he was doing art to make money instead of just doing art to do art. And so now he does art purely for art. And it's a reductionist methodology. And he was telling me like, He used to do all this stuff where he's trying to impress the galleries and get, become important, right, in the art world. And now he's like, I have my art. I made this painting. It's in the middle of nowhere. If you want to see it, great. If you don't, I don't care. He's got like a couple Airbnbs that he makes a little bit of money off of. He orders his organic food that comes to the house, and he spends his time, no schedule, no meetings, no nothing, just doing art. And that's his life, and that's it. And we were talking about it because I've been someone who's been really obsessed with Tim Ferriss and specifically the 80-20 principle, or the Pareto principle, which is like how to get more done and how to get more in less time, right? And he was saying that's popular, right? But that's still capitalist. That's still you're trying to get more, right? And he was like, my thing is less is less, but less is good. So what his whole life is about is like, how do I reduce so that I have less things to worry about and less things to think about, and I just am left with just pure peace. Yeah. And so I've been trying to take that, and recently, I mean, I told you guys I had this big team. I had 15 employees, and I was like, I want to make like whatever $30 million a year and like scale my business to the moon. And recently there was a combination of things, AI and all the stuff that's happening with automation, and I saw like people kind of are going to be replaced by these robots. Yeah. But more than that, I realized that in building this whole team, I just outsourced everything that I used to do myself that was fun and that was, to me, was art. And I thought to myself, like, would Leonardo da Vinci have like outsourced someone to paint the Mona Lisa? It's like, no, like even with this podcast, right? Like you guys, you come in here, you're like, oh, we don't have an assistant. It's like, yeah, well, like I love that because we spent the first hour like setting this stuff up, get to know each other. Like, like if you had the assistant, it might have been less like, you're not moving around as much, you're kind of just sitting there. And I think that applies across like so many different divisions of life, where like if you reduce in business, you end up being kind of the artist behind the business. And that's so much more possible with all the tools we have now that, I let go of like pretty much everyone on my team. I'm making, I'm actually making a little bit more money because the profit margins are bigger. Now, am I going to scale to 30 million a year? No, it's not really that possible with just one person, but I'm a lot more fulfilled, and I'm making what I need to, and I'm most importantly like getting really back in touch with like the art of it.
All right, we're back. Little pee break.
We are back.
Car dump break. I don't know where we left off, but I will just pick it back up. I wanted to ask you, our viewers. We have a lot of young men trying to change their life. Obviously, you've done it. I'm 20 years old. Maybe dropped out of college. Did 1 year of college. Wasn't for me. I worked over the summer. I got $10,000 in my bank account. What do I do with it in 2024?
So, I would say looking at, what do you have an advantage over everyone else in the marketplace? And, for me, for example, like I was always good at making videos. Like I wasn't always good, but I developed the skill ever since I was a kid. And my dad was a photographer. I had a camera in my hands when I was 2 years old. So I was always really good at making videos. And when I was in that position, or even before that, like when I was 18, I was trying everything. I was trying everything that's still popular today. I was trying to do a Shopify store. I was trying to do the SMMA. I was trying to do an app. Like I watched The Social Network with Mark Zuckerberg, and I was like, yeah,
Great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. That lit up the entrepreneur in me.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I'm gonna do something big. But the thing I was missing is I was doing what everyone else was doing, and now it's worse, right? Like back then it was Tai Lopez, and that's about it, right? Like you get the 67 Steps program, and you get the Tai Lopez SMMA course, and you try to do that. You know, I had my caddy money. I was a caddy at a golf course, and I tried to buy these courses and learn from them, but it didn't work. And I think the reason it didn't work is because I wasn't leaning on like natural abilities. And then a year of failure after failure after failure and more, I started YouTube, and I started putting videos out there, and I was just dead consistent with it. And that is the thing that took off. And within a year, I had like 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. But that was because I wasn't really starting from square one. You know, I was already 20 years experienced. So, you know, if you look at your background, it should just make sense. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you know, like Jake was always funny and entertaining, right? And so of course he's good on the podcast, right? He was always kind of acting here and then, like,
right.
Like it just kind of it makes sense. I mean, I imagine with you, like you probably had some, you know, video editing background at least a little
None.
bit. No, nothing.
I made highlight tapes for basketball.
There you go.
That
You
was
knew
how I
some-
made some money. Yeah.
You knew how to use what? Final Cut Pro or something like that, or
iMovie.
whatever. iMovie. There you
Yeah.
go. You knew how to use iMovie.
Yeah.
And it's changed now. It's getting weird out there with like all these crazy video editing tools nowadays.
Right.
But you know, if you knew how to use something or you had some skill, and you're 20 years old, you got 10 grand in the bank, look back at that and be like, all right, what do I really feel? And you have to feel it, you know, like what do I really feel I could like go for? And yeah, you just Gary Vee it, you know, like I saw you talk to Gary Vee at some point, right? And he changed my life too. Like for me, it was I had like a Gary Vee phase. I was just like consuming all the content, reading the books, the jab, right hook, but I wasn't doing anything. I was just reading it and I was just consuming. And one day I tweeted him and I was like, hey, Gary, this was like 2015 probably, probably 2016. And I was like, hey, Gary, what should I be going for? Like quality content or quantity? And he responded, do both.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, Gary Vee responded to me. I have to do it now.
Yeah.
Like because he says in his videos, he's like, you know, I'm going to be watching you. And I was like, oh, he might be watching me now.
Right.
You know, and I've never interacted with Gary since then. That was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But that literally changed my life, because then I went out and I was like, all right, I got to do this, and I have to be consistent, and it has to be quality and quantity, and it just worked. And so, but the only reason it worked is because I had like prior experience in that thing, at least a little bit, you know? So yeah, I would say lean on your prior skills.
Your
and
foundation. Yeah.
Your foundation, yeah.
It's great advice.
Yeah, and it's weird that we do that often. I'm probably a victim of that, and maybe not to like a certain extent where it completely changed my life, but like one little thing, like you could know, like you probably deep down knew, like, all right, I mean, it's kind of common sense, like, yeah, put out as much good shit as you can. But all it took was like someone like Gary Vee to tell you that for a light bulb to click in your head. And I feel like we do that a lot, where it's like we know the answers majority of the time. Like when you read a book, you kind of already know it. All it does is like refresh what you already know. And I mean, for someone like you, like all you needed was that like little thing, Gary Vee. All right, now I'm going to do this. Yeah. And I think we're oblivious to that a lot, or we don't listen, or sometimes we don't attract that person or that idea into our life because we're so consumed and we're not open enough to allow that to come into our life. Like you were saying, your cup is full all the time. So you don't get that light bulb moment to, or that idea to go back to like, all right, let me go back to my foundation. Let me go back to my roots, because this is what I was good at when I was a kid. And that was when I felt the most free. That was when I felt the most just present, because I wasn't thinking.
Yeah. Off topic, because I'm just interested. It was just Art Basel you know, everyone in your space was there. Why weren't you?
I don't like Miami.
Yeah?
I just don't like it. I mean, we talked about it a little earlier. It's like, it just doesn't. I mean, there's good people in Miami, of course, but it does definitely feel like they like you more for your pocket than your heart. And I went 2 years ago, and I got COVID actually,
Yeah.
and it was just like some parties and COVID, and it just sucked. Like,
Yeah.
I literally had COVID on my birthday last year, like, or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But this year, I mean, you know, I think my circle is getting a little smaller. You know, like I really have like my core people that I love being with, and like none of us really like to party. Like we you know, I have one of my core friends is like becoming a DJ now. So like I'll go. We actually went out and he DJ'd a set in New York a few nights ago, and that was fun. But yeah, I just didn't feel the need to like go party for a week straight in Miami. And to be honest though, like you can still like there's business happening at those parties. You know, like there's moves being made for sure, and like that there's something to that. But I've done so much traveling the past year and a half that I mean, you know, my girl made me like a video for my birthday of just all the stuff we've done in the last year and a half, and I was like, I can't even believe that we've done all this.
Yeah.
Like we've been to all these places, and we're honestly now ready to just not go anywhere for a while and just like dial in.
Right.
So yeah, that's the main reason. No, just want to stay focused.
Yeah. And then to rewind, I want to know, you know, because we didn't go into this at all, you know, grow up in the Cape, and then, you know, you put yourself in a debt. Well, not in a debt, but you give yourself urgency by going to BU. You went, and then what was your first like success piece? I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the YouTube channel.
Okay.
So I posted every day for 8 months without ever asking for anything. So I had like several hundred videos out, and then I think I had 7,000 followers.
Nice.
And it got to the point where they were like asking me like, you know, to release merch or something, and I knew I wanted to do some kind of merch, like some kind of clothing brand type thing. But I was holding it because like Gary Vee said, you know, jab, 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 right hook.
Yeah.
And I waited until people were like begging me to give them something. And then I worked really hard on this brand, and it was called 8 a.m. And yeah, it was a clothing brand. And I think I made like $4,000 in revenue in the first drop. And that was the most money that I ever seen. You know, like I was used to like $50 to $100 for carrying a bag for 6 hours,
Right.
and then I made like $2,000 in profit in like a few days selling T-shirts, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then I scaled that up and got it. Yeah, I don't know. I got it to like when I would do a drop, the max I would do like $50,000-$60,000 in like a weekend or something like that.
Oh wow.
And
in profit?
No,
Okay.
so 30, 35 or something like
Wow,
that.
I mean,
profit.
still insane.
Yeah. And I was always a one-person show, so I just did the Shopify stuff. And the funny thing was I had tried to do drop shipping,
Yeah.
and I also actually had an internship working for a guy who has an e-com brand, so I knew how Shopify worked and how to upload products and set up the little bots for like the follow-up emails and all that, and I'd read Tim Ferriss, so I had all the automation set up, and I was just like, yeah, one-person business and just making money selling merch.
Wow. And then, what I guess, like, now, if I create content and I make merch, I don't know how likely I am to meet Aman Ghazi. So like, what did you do to like get around that circle?
Yeah. So I got really into social dynamics. Did you guys ever hear of a company called RSD? Real Social Dynamics?
No.
No.
Maybe. I mean, maybe we've heard of it.
Have you heard of Owen Cook? No.
No.
Wow.
I don't
Okay.
consume. I don't consume.
You don't
much, bro.
consume much.
I don't
Okay.
consume much.
So when I was when I was a freshman, going into my freshman year, I used to watch this YouTube channel called Simple Pickup. You ever heard of them?
Nope.
No. Okay. So
Yes.
you have.
Biggest fan. No.
Oh, no, okay, all right. Simple Pickup. So yeah, I don't know. I was like, I was from this small town, and like I'm getting ready to go to a school where there's 4,000 students in my grade, where I'm coming from, 170, right?
Right.
And I'm about to meet 4,000 new people plus the 16,000 undergrad.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta get better socially. Like I gotta be Mr. Smooth Talker and like learn how to be a cool dude, right? And how to make friends and how to talk to girls, of course. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think I was ever like really super socially awkward, but I would definitely get nervous talking to like hot chicks, and I wouldn't know what to say, and I would get nervous talking to like the cool guys on the sports team when I was younger. And so I just knew like I need to work on my social skills. And so I started, the first book I read was How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is a classic. And that opened my mind to like, you can read a book, apply what you learned from the book, and actually see a result. Like that blew my mind. I don't know why, because like growing up, we hate reading, right? We're like the teachers like read Of Mice and Men and read Romeo and Juliet, and you're like, how am I using this? Yeah. What's funny now is like you read those books now and you're like, oh, I get it. Like I can actually relate to the heartbreak and whatever.
Yeah.
But back then it was like, hey, smile, tilt your head, raise your eyebrows, and people will like you more, Or like if you let people talk about themselves, they'll like you more, or if you compliment someone's hair, they'll like you more, So like all these little things I was trying. There's a channel called Simple Pickup.
Yeah.
And there were these 3 really goofy looking dudes. Yeah. And they would just go around and make pickup videos where they would like flirt with girls and get their phone number. And I thought that was so cool.
Fire.
Yeah. And it was like, today we're going to, go get girls' phone numbers by saying nothing. Or like, today we're going to go get girls' phone numbers with, dressed as a Simpsons character, something weird, right? And I was just learning like all these like pickup lines. And then I found RSD. And RSD stood for Real Social Dynamics. And these guys were like the Avengers of like social dynamics and dating and communication. And they had like one ethnicity and style per like ethnicity you can imagine. Like they literally had like the main guy, Owen Cook, was literally like he presented himself as fat, balding, ginger guy who gets girls, right?
Was he fat, balding, and ginger?
Yeah, like fat, balding, ginger.
Oh wow!
And then you had Todd, Madison, Luke, like you had all these guys, and they all were like either out of shape, fat, or like bald, or like they just didn't look handsome.
Yeah.
And then they all would go out, and there was like hidden camera footage of them, talking to girls and showing how to get in a good mood and be charismatic and just how to be influential. And I was obsessed with these videos. And what I would do is the nerdiest thing ever is as they instructed, is I would go out my freshman year and I would like, even in class, like I'd talk to everybody. I'd talk to girls on the street. If there was like a guy in the hockey team, I understood he had, social status, like D1 hockey player, I'm going to make friends with him. And I would talk to like 50 strangers a day. And then I would go home at night and I would journal about it. And I would say, here's what happened. Here's what was my opening line. Here's what I said. Here's what went well. And here's what I can improve on. And I could show you guys. I have hundreds of pages of these documents in Google Docs.
This is insane.
Yeah. I was just so into it. And I just loved like being able to see myself improve over time. And then, of course, I started the YouTube channel, and now I was filming my interactions.
Yeah.
And I would, of course, after I filmed it, I'd have to edit it. So I would be able to see myself on camera.
Like film.
Yeah, like
study, yeah.
like film study.
Wow.
And like, yeah, exactly. Like for social skills. And just doing that for years, I got really good. And then when I was building my my course, I was like, well, what am I good at? And I wrote down, I thought it was so stupid. I was like, well, I'm good at making friends. I was like, how am I going to make money off like being good at making friends? I was like, that sounds dumb. But I remember writing that down, and all my ideas, it was like, well, I'm good at YouTube, good at making friends, I'm good at merch. Like I'm good. I had all these skills. I looked at making friends. I'm like, I don't know why that sounds so dumb, but for some reason I see it now. Like there was like a glow around it, you know? And I ended up making a course called Tribe Accelerator, which was basically like the masterclass on how to win friends and influence people in the modern day, specifically using social media. So how do you take a photo of yourself? Like even if you have like no friends to take a photo of you, in a way that if you only have, 9 photos on your Instagram feed, some stranger would look at those photos and think that you're just the coolest fucking person. So how do you make your Instagram really cool, and make a girl want to go on a date with you, and make a guy want to do business with you? And I just hyper studied that and tested that, and then mix that in with how do you actually back up what you're saying, like by being a genuine good dude in person.
Right.
And being charismatic and influential in person. And the whole thing with like the vocal intonation and like raising your voice and slowing it down.
Yeah.
And using pauses, and so I just made this program, and it was just really good. And one of the things I talk about is in the course, literally, and the reason I actually met Iman was that someone was like, hey, how do I make friends with this like celebrity person on the internet? And I was like, well, you have to make them feel important, and you have to do them a favor, and you have to leverage like all of these persuasion principles. So Robert Cialdini wrote Influence. He talks about social proof, likability bias, reciprocity, and authority, and all of these ways to make someone be influenced by you. So reciprocity is when you do something for someone, they automatically feel like they owe you something, right? So what I did is I saw Iman was like running a 10K or something like that, and it was for charity, like for building his schools in Nepal. And I saw it and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was literally like, someone asked me like, how do you make friends with someone important on the internet? And I was like, oh well, here's what I'll do. And I like donated money to his thing, and I was like, hey guys, like there's this entrepreneur, he's a really dope dude, his name's Iman, he's doing cool stuff on the internet, and he's running a 10K for charity, and I just donated $1,000 to it, and I think you guys should check it out. And I tagged it on my story, and he saw that I tagged it, and then I think he followed me after that. I actually think he'd seen my content prior when I was in college. But yeah, then we just kind of became internet friends and went back and forth. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's like if there's ever anyone that you want to really connect with, there's a few ways to do it. That's like a pretty direct way. That's like a strategy that you can just take action on. It's like, hey, I love what this person is doing. I support their cause. You guys should check it out. Like you guys could easily do that with anyone, right?
It's a good idea.
Yeah, because they're not gonna not be like, oh shit, like,
oh, that's very nice of this person.
Yeah.
No matter who they are, unless they're like massive, and they just never see it. But if someone comes across a video of you just showing like love, on your story, and you actually have an audience, and then you post it for free, they'll follow you. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, we thought about that during like the Call of Duty, the CDL championship with Scump, with Optic, his live stream, because you can donate money on his Twitch. So we were thinking like, cause he gives everyone a shout out that donates money. So we were like, yo, maybe we should donate, like everyone's donating 5, 10, 15. We were like, yo, let's donate like $500. And he was going to be like, oh shit, shout out to the Journey podcast. You know what I mean? Like, and then how many people are watching that live? 100,000 people, where he gives a quick shout out. Now, maybe if we donate the most money and now we reach out, he answers. So like we thought of that. We never did it, but yeah, it's a great tactic.
Yeah. A follow-up on that, like another strategy that I think really works is, and this is something I learned from Jordan Greenfield, the founder of Hubi, because in my eyes, he's like he's the best networker I've ever seen, because I literally watched this guy go from knowing nobody in Boston to now like David Dobrik's an investor in the company, like the whole, like he's at Post Malone's manager's house, Dre London. Like he's courtside with like the owner of DraftKings. Like he now knows everybody. Yeah. And what I learned from him, and what's interesting is he's someone who doesn't even realize what he's doing. He just does it naturally. And I've actually interviewed him on podcasts to like get this strategy, which what it is it's frequency and proximity. So most people, if they see like a celebrity or someone that they want to, actually be friends with, they screw it up because they go up to them on the first time they see them and they come off as a fan. Whereas what Jordan's done is and this is the advantage of going somewhere like Art Basel, is all the successful people are going to be there. And there's this circuit of events, right? There's like the Cannes Film Festival, F1 Monaco. We just had F1 in Vegas, right? Like that's an event where all the famous people are going to be and the successful people. And what Jordan does is he goes to all the events, and because he's simply in the room, the successful and famous people see him there, and then he makes friends with, their manager or their business partner or someone, to the point where it almost doesn't make sense that successful famous person wouldn't be friends with Jordan.
Right.
So it's like you just put yourself in the room consistently, and that's kind of challenging to figure out how to do that. And there's more to it, but the core thing is like, all right, well, you want to make friends with whatever successful entrepreneurs. Well, I know that in January, most of them go to Cape Town, So, and funny, this year I'm not going to Cape Town. Like I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, I don't need to meet more people. Like I just need to focus. But if you didn't want to, like you go to Cape Town in January, February, like you're gonna meet everybody that's like successful in the space, who's like growing a podcast or a business or something like that. And you're just in the same proximity, the same room. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, I think, not direct, like, we didn't.
It's what we've lacked is the proximity.
But that's also what I did in Miami, which was a big boost, and I didn't even really know.
No, of course, yeah. But like I'm saying, like as you and I were together, like we haven't done that
I'm
yet.
thinking we gotta fucking move, bro. Like listening, like, bro. I mean, we solve urgency, proximity with one thing. Right there, and that's because we've been talking a lot about just us personally, from a life standpoint, just what's off. Something's off, it seems, like I don't know, it seems like alarmingly off, actually. Like if I'm being honest, it doesn't. It's at the point now where like I mean, bro, we'll leave, We'll leave this interview. This is a great interview. You know what I'm saying, bro? We'll leave this, and we'll both be silent on the car ride home. It's fucking weird, bro. It's a weird thing, right? Insanity is like doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and that's why like I've been so. I've been. It's just life is, and that again is like one of my other reasons of like, do I want to be a life coach, right? Because there's so much complexities to it. But that's kind of the beauty of having good friends, bro, is sometimes one sentence from someone that cares about you can actually change your life. and I appreciate you for everything that you've said, because it's compartmentalizing all of this fucking drama in my head and like boiling it down to like a sweet science. So it's good, bro.
It's like an interesting sort of conundrum, because obviously like where you guys are, are you living in your hometown right now? Yeah. Like I'm about to go home to my hometown after this podcast, and like I couldn't be more excited, because I know and maybe that's what you guys need to do, is like move somewhere else to recognize, but like when I'm home, I'm like my most creative, like because I think we tend to think like, oh, there's all this great stuff out there, and there is, but the best stuff is really at home, like being, just in that environment. You're the most who you'll ever really be,
You think so?
I think so.
Really?
Yeah, I definitely think so.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys are like. Why you guys are crushing it so much is because you're so authentic.
Yeah.
And I think probably
I guess
being,
that is true.
And maybe you need to like, and I think it's a good idea to like, go out and try wherever, Miami or wherever.
Yeah.
Just to kind of feel that excitement and see what that feels like. But then I guarantee, you come home, your favorite podcast will always be like, where'd you say, like your mom's cottage, or where does it?
Yeah. No, I agree. We had a joke we were gonna build. Once we like are really popping and we have like a studio, we were gonna build the exact same setup that we have now. Like recreate it, yeah.
Recreate it, but
just
just bigger,
drop it in, more functional. That's that word excitement, right? I want to ask you, what's something that excites you right now? What are you excited about in life?
I think I'm excited to be more consistent, because we've been living out of a suitcase for the last year and a half, and it's been absolutely amazing, and I have nothing to complain about. But at the same time, and it actually is interesting, like every possible scenario that you think is better than your current situation has a downside. Because to go back to like the Eckhart Tolle thing, like reality is just neutral. It's neither good nor bad, because your worst breakup is also your biggest motivator, right? Like, the negatives in your life you could spin and turn into a positive some way, but at the same time, that fantasy that you have of like, oh, I can't wait to travel the world and go to all these countries, or I can't wait to move to this new house, there's going to be a downside, like there is. And so, for me right now, like I think like if I had to focus on the upside that I'm looking forward to is like a consistency, because we've been so inconsistent. And yeah, obviously the downside is like I when I'm consistent, I can't just be like, oh, hey, let's go on a trip here, Yeah. But and maybe you get a little like home, not homesick, but home claustrophobic, right? So yeah, what about you guys? What are you guys excited for?
I mean, bro, just like growing this and really just like we know what we're capable of, and we know where we're going. And there's so many things, like he said, that just aligned and have happened. And it's crazy that we even doubt ourselves sometimes. But it is that consistent feeling of unfulfillment after we do something that we talked about and dreamed of, and we do it, and then it wasn't enough. Like I'm excited to like just be at peace of where I'm at mentally, spiritually, physically, locationally, whatever. Just like be at peace, have consistent cash flow, not have to worry about money, and just, what I'm saying? Just be able to like live my life. And like, I know there's always going to be stress and anxiety and business and all that stuff. Obviously that's inevitable, but to just not have to like this day to day of just constant scarcity mindset. What's next on the, what I'm saying? Like I'm ready to be able to do this full time, be at peace, and then be able to work on like other endeavors and not be spread thin just trying to get by to fund this, because it has been like this consistent process of we have a high and then it's a super low and then high. It's just I want more
You
of
just
like
get
this
smacked in the face by your reality, you know?
all the time. So I think we're just ready for this just steady incline of just being more just peaceful, because I think we would be so much better at what we do if we didn't have all the fucking baggage and bullshit going on day in and day out.
Yeah. And the devil's advocate is like, that is also like what made us
The driver.
relatable, right? Is like
Yeah.
having all that stuff. And yeah, bro, I mean, it's something that's why, you know, you get in these states where you're just like, maybe the answer is just rest. You know, like, bro, I was even thinking about, bro, I'm not an advocate for like playing video games. I'm just not. I just think it's a complete waste of time. But I like kind of look at, you know, it's funny, bro, because we were speaking about time yesterday and how, you know, in relationships, you know, there's certain things that happen in life, bro. Time is the only thing that's going to heal it. You know, you lose a parent. I mean, bro, there's not going to be a meditation or a book that's going to help right in the beginning. It's just, you're just going to have to go through it. You know, there's not going to be a conversation, a friend that can come in, a family member. It's like, it really is just like ears, you know, like, you know, having ears, you know, to listen to you, and just having a safe space. But really time is it. It's the same thing in a relationship. It's so powerful, bro. It's, you know, I remember, you know, every time I've ever been like severely broken up with and no contact and you're sitting there, bro, and you're trying to figure out how can I not even feel good again? How can I just feel okay again? And it's time, you know. But that was where this has been such a funny storm, has been that urgency, right, that you spoke about before. It is beautiful, right, because it drives you to, you know, do this successful thing, and it is the thing that raises your ceiling, but at the same time it can make the process not enjoyable. And that's a little bit about where it's kind of been for us is we're going to continue to crush regardless. Like, bro, like I we're going to have such a rock star year. Like I really, I know what's going to happen, but bro, like I really want to enjoy it, you know? Yeah. And that was, you know, that's what I was saying before about our issue isn't, when I said before that we have a real issue in life, it's not success. So I actually think becoming successful is easy. Like, I think that's an easy thing. I think that's what you said before. Find something that, you know, you have an inclination to do. Don't be a jerk off and half-ass it. Actually learn. Surround yourself with people that are better than you in that thing. And then just go all the way. And, like, there you go.
Right, there's like a science to it. There's a formula to success and stuff like that.
But, you know, the thing that people don't talk about is how do you get there, you know, while
fucking driving yourself insane in the process.
Driving yourself insane, and then also, bro, you just don't realize how much of an effect you have in the world, you know? Like, a lot of people, like, take these utilitarian jobs because they want to make the world a better place, but, like, it's funny because the job that the person that they want to make the world a better place, they don't enjoy it. So, like, there's, you know, you're out there in the world and you're saying, you know, you're talking about all these things and you're talking about all these like big picture things, but you don't even realize like, yo, one of the best things you could have done to make the world a better place is make you a better place, right? And then by making you a better place and having a good interaction, bro, with the person at the grocery store and the gym and your parents and your girl, I've done the opposite, you know, where like I've tried to make the world a better place. And because I'm so stressed out, because that's such a big goal of mine, I'll blow off on my girlfriend because I'm taking things out on her, when like I think the sweet science is really, it's not how can I become the most successful or how can I achieve my goals the fastest. It's how can I enjoy it in the process so that I make the world around me a better place. And that's just something that we're dealing with now. But you know, it's just been a fun grind. Coming up on
almost 2 hours.
Purpose.
Bro. We wrap up every one. Just what's your
Thanks
purpose?
for listening, by the way. I know we were interviewing you as well, but you know, I'm happy it was a conversation today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what's your purpose?
I think my purpose is to create art from the most aligned space that I'm in at the time. And so I think that means, you know, whatever I'm like really truly feeling inspired by, or not even necessarily inspired, but like whatever I'm feeling in that moment, if I can like muster up the ability to sit down at my fucking computer and make that piece of content and put that out there, then that's the win, like regardless of the result. I think that the biggest battle that everyone faces is to do the thing that they know they should do but are avoiding doing. You know, like everybody has that. Everybody has the thing that's been in the back of their mind for months, you know? And if I look back at my life, I'm like, that's it. Like if I just a little bit earlier just did that thing that I've been avoiding doing, then my life would have been a lot more fulfilling. You know, maybe not more successful even, but more fulfilling, you know? Because, and I said it earlier, like right now I have a way to make money, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's fulfilling, you know? So, you know, and you guys have really helped me on this podcast, I think. Like I now know what I need to do. Like I need to make more of those kind of videos that we talked about at the beginning. Like that for me, like regardless of the outcome of those videos, you know, whether they go viral or not, or whether they fit the algorithm or can be turned into a short, it's like the most important thing is that I'm making whatever I'm trying to avoid. And I don't know why that works. It doesn't even make sense. Like why is that how art works, you know, or why how fulfillment works?
Talk about that shit all the time, bro.
Yeah. No, yeah.
We talk about that all the time, bro. I could tell you this much, bro. Those videos, I'm a sucker for quality. I enjoy it. Everyone enjoys it without them really knowing it. Some people more than others, but like there's a reason why. You know, if you hear Beethoven, you don't have to fucking be a musical genius to know that like, oh, this is fire, whatever this is, you know, whatever this is, or you see a crazy painting. You know, art is one of those things that smacks you in the face. You know, quality is quality, but I love it, you know, and I can certainly tell you, like, man to man, looking straight in your eyes, I thought that video, Gentlemen in London, was spectacular. And for you to do it on your iPhone, you know, like, it's everything, bro. The shots, the music, the vibe, how you painted the picture, the story. You didn't waste any time in the video. I thought it was awesome. Yeah. So yeah, I think it was, and I think it was way better than the video you showed me of you guys before. Not to be a be a dick, you know, but it's like,
well, she tells me all the time. She's like, you should do more YouTube videos.
Bro, you're like a creative. You're like a creative director. Like outside looking in. Like I thought we were gonna get on the podcast today and speak to like an entrepreneur, and you are an entrepreneur, right? You definitely do some funky things, you know, like as far as like you analyzing, like all that shit, you know. But like, you're creative, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, you guys said it. You guys said this podcast is like therapy for you. Yeah. I literally feel like this was more of a coaching session, you know, than a podcast. Like I felt, like I was really able to dive in and uncover some stuff that I needed to look at.
Nice, bro.
And that's really special what you guys have. So
Thanks,
thank
brother.
you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Well, thank you for coming on, bro. I really enjoyed this episode.
This is a really good one, bro.
Yeah, it was good. Cousin, love you.
Man.
Hey, always huge shout out to the sponsor, Evermore, and
It's good
we
water.
love you as well, Magic Mind. 50% off. Use the code The Journey Podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Journey Podcast 20.